I'm McKinney Smith. After going through a divorce, my sister passing away, experiencing narcissistic abuse, and some significant health scares, I realized through sharing my story that I wasn't alone in my suffering. Suffering, subjective distress generated by the experience of being out of balance. In a deep dive to holistically heal mind, body, and soul is where I discovered peace, clarity, and connection. It is impossible to be truly wise without some real life hardship, and we cannot develop post-traumatic wisdom without making it through, and most importantly, through it together. Social connection builds resilience, and resilience helps create post-traumatic wisdom, and that wisdom leads to hope. Hope for you and others witnessing and participating in your healing, and hope for your community. A healthy community is a healing community, and a healing community is full of hope because it has seen its own people weather, survive, and thrive. Before we get started, here's a quick reminder. Your healing starts with your thoughts. In my second book, 111 Affirmations to Help You Heal, it's your daily guide to shifting from self-doubt to self-love. Speak life over yourself and grab your copy today on Amazon or at mckinneysmith.com. Today's guest is Kenisha Hanson. She's a certified personal development coach, author, facilitator, and AI wellness strategist dedicated to helping individuals and organizations align with their values, cultivate peace, and redefine success on their own terms. As the author of Peace Your Way to Success, Kenisha combines holistic well-being and intentional goal setting to support professionals in navigating life's transitions with clarity and ease. As a cancer survivor, Kenisha's journey reshaped her understanding of resilience, purpose, and self-compassion. Insights she now shares through her coaching, facilitation, and corporate leadership training. She's been featured in Style Canada and has led transformative conversations at wellness retreats, professional organizations, and entrepreneurial spaces. As an emerging voice in the intersection of AI and wellness, Kenisha is passionate about leveraging AI technology as a tool for self-awareness, introspection, and sustainable success. Whether guiding professionals through life-changing transitions, facilitating workshops, or empowering organizations to cultivate well-being in the workplace, her work is rooted in peace, alignment, and meaningful impact. So please welcome to the show, Kenisha Hanson.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for agreeing to come on and share your story with us today. You know, especially when I see other women who are entrepreneurs, who are building their own businesses, who are dealing with their own challenges, life. I definitely don't take it for granted that you are here. You could be anywhere in the world right now and you choose to be here. So thank you.
You're so welcome. I'm so happy to be here. Happy you finally got to do this.
I'm excited to jump in because I feel like I get more excited when I get to interview people that I quote unquote kind of know. You know, those people that you follow on social for years, people that you work with. But I feel like doing the podcast gives me an opportunity to get to know you deeper. It gives us an opportunity to connect on a deeper level. And I love being able to also share that with the listeners because they kind of, you know, get to be like a fly on the wall listening to like two girlfriends talk. So I'm excited.
Cool. Can't wait.
So, okay, I love to start the show with kind of going back, taking things back to, you know, the very beginning before we get to where you are presently.
Yeah.
So, for you, I would love to know, like, what shaped your sense of purpose before you became a coach and got into like wellness?
How far back are we talking?
We can go as far back as you can think. For some people, that could be, you know, childhood, something that sparked that. For some people, it could be your teenage years. It could be early adulthood. Like, just take us back to, I guess, where you decided that you wanted to get into wellness, I guess where you decided you wanted to be a coach in that space, where
Yeah.
that started for you.
I think as far as I can remember, and maybe I wasn't calling it wellness then, but I know for sure I would take it back to probably high school when I could probably remember like wanting to help people, wanting to go down the psychology realm. And that's when I decided that I was going to be a psychologist, right? Like that was like the thing. I had to do it. There was nothing else that I could do and be. And I think just that trajectory just sent me on, where I am now. And while I'm not a psychologist today, and I'm sure we'll dive into a little bit more about that, the idea of understanding how people navigate the world, how people think, how I think, and just being a support for individuals definitely started as far as I can remember then. It may have been before, but what I can remember around that time.
Okay, okay. So, okay, can you share, I guess, a moment when you realized that your healing wasn't, I guess, about returning to who you were, but becoming someone new?
Okay, so we're just gonna jump on it. That was an amazing question. And I would have to say that it was somewhere after remission, somewhere after all of the conversations with God, the questions to God, about, all of the things that have happened. There was a point where I was just like, it came to me and it was like, okay, well, maybe this is a part of something bigger. This is a part that I may never know why. I may never know, what the purpose of all of this was, but I don't think that this was supposed to take me out. Right? Like,
Mhm.
there was supposed to be a story here, and that's actually why I ended up writing Piece Your Way to Success, in that I never had any intentions of being a writer. It was never a dream of mine, never a hope, a wish, a prayer, any of those things to be an author. But again, like, I am a spiritual person, and I did feel like it was something that I was supposed to do. Like, this story is not my own. This story
Mhm.
wasn't for me to just, go through all of this challenge and navigate all of this pain for no reason. It was to reach someone, and maybe I may never meet them. But I think that was when I realized, like, wow, this is beyond me. And if we take a step back, one of the things that I toyed with was like, maybe it had to be me, right?
Mhm.
It had to be me because it couldn't be someone else in my circle, because how would I deal with that? I'm the
Mhm.
person that loves to support people and be there for people. How would I deal with that on the flip side? So maybe
Mhm.
it had to be me. Maybe he God equipped me with everything that I needed to navigate this. And quite frankly, I believe that he did, because here I am.
But, like, okay, that leads me, like, I have so many questions now because originally I was gonna ask, I guess or I guess when you first got diagnosed with cancer, like, explain walking us through that journey. But now you're also you talked about, your healing beginning with remission and the lesson of, like, what if it was someone else and how it's, I guess, shaped you. So, okay, so let's start with the initial
Yeah,
diagnosis, if you're comfortable with that.
yeah, yeah.
Walk us through what that was like for you.
Yeah. So initial diagnosis was a journey in itself. I think it started with, I had some back pain. It was just like, it was more like discomfort, I would describe it as. It was like an annoying discomfort. I went to go get massages, and I'm not like a massage person. I don't love massages, but I went to get a massage. I'm like, oh, maybe there's like something happening there, and it wouldn't go away. I got a Thai massage. I had someone standing on my back, doing all sorts of things, just trying to get out whatever it was. And I was just like, all right, this isn't working. And then I think there was a point where it began radiating to my chest. And I was just like, and at that moment, like, everything stopped for me because I was so nervous. So a bit of backstory, a year prior, my mom was diagnosed with what's called neuromyelitis optica, and it left her completely paralyzed. So
Mhm,
it's autoimmune disease that presents similar to MS, but it's not MS, and that the attacks are quite severe. So whereas MS can be quite gradual, neuromyelitis optica, like, she was paralyzed within a day and a half. Yeah, by the time I took her to the hospital, she was getting pain lifted in and out of bed, and hers started with back pain. So for me, in that moment when it started to radiate to my chest and it actually turned into from discomfort to pain, I was just like, oh my gosh, can this actually be the same thing? Like, I have to take care of my mother. How can I now be paralyzed and take care of a paralyzed person like this? I
Mm-hmm.
don't have capacity for that. So I went to the doctor, or actually, I went to the hospital. And that was when I realized I went to the hospital and I said, this is what was going on. This is what I'm feeling. And unfortunately, the usual kind of dismissal. Oh, it doesn't seem like anything. We'll do an ultrasound. Oh, there's nothing there. So they sent me home and I was just like, nah, something is not right. So I went back and they're like, okay, we'll do this. I think they did some other tests and they're like, okay, we'll book you in for a CT. So I went back home and I didn't get a phone call. And I was just like, okay, all right. So I went back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I went back, I packed my bag, I took the day off work and I was just like, okay, I'm here. They're like, oh, why didn't you wait? Like it's gonna take so long if you just come. And I'm just like, that's okay. I took the day off. I will wait as long as it takes. Something's not right. They, told me, oh, you probably just need an antacid, like nothing's wrong, like nothing on the scans and the ultrasounds showed that there was anything wrong. Like you could probably just take an antacid and go home and we'll call you. And I was like, no, I'm okay. I'll wait. So I waited and I got the test done. And my doctor in Emerge, he was a white man. And when they got the results back, he called me to the back. And I will never forget his face. He turned into an absolute ghost. And again, he was already white and he just looked ghostly. Like
Wow.
the look on his face, I knew for certain this was not going to be good. And so he said to come into the room. I said, oh, like, can my partner come in? And he said, no. Again, indicators that something was not okay. Yeah. And so I walked into the room and he's just like, oh my God, I am so sorry. He's like, I dismissed you and I thought it was absolutely nothing. And I'm pretty sure you have cancer. And I was just like, huh, yeah. Like,
Uh,
just like, yeah. And so I was literally admitted that day.
I have goosebumps right now. Like, I am so sorry you even had to deal with that. And I can only imagine the level of frustration. And like from that, there's two main things that I want the listeners to highlight. One, the importance of listening to your body, being aware of the signs, because we can often, especially as women, be dismissive of our own pain and discomfort because we're
Hmm.
so used to it, right?
Yeah.
So the importance of listening to your body. And two, the importance of advocating for yourself. Because, girl, I get it. I have had the medical system be dismissive of me and had major things wrong. I've had the medical system be dismissive of my daughter who was sick for 3 years and almost died. I had the medical system be dismissive of my sister who ended up passing away. So I get it. So being your own advocate, even when they tell you nothing is wrong. I am so upset for you right now. Like,
I'm upset for you. Like it's just honestly, it's just so unfortunate, right? It's so unfortunate that we have to do this and we have to fight when we're already dealing with all of the emotions that is coming with whatever ailment we are navigating, right? To then
mhm.
and fight still for someone to take us seriously. So yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't a great experience, but I can say that afterwards my care was fantastic. And I check it up to, you know, our health system and all of the things that they're unfortunately they become numb to all of what's happening and we no longer become real people. And then you add the layer of being a Black woman. We don't have to get too deep into that, but it is that's where we are in the world and it's unfortunate.
The
So that's
stats
the point.
absolutely show that we are dismissed for our health concerns, that
Mhm.
it's almost like we're expected to
Mhm.
have this pain, and a lot of it is, like, trauma within
Yeah,
the body, stress, all the other things, but we're dismissed and it's not addressed. And I do understand, with the healthcare system being overloaded or overwhelmed and understaffed and all the things. But at the end of the day, we are people.
exactly.
And it is my hope that anyone who gets into the health profession is in it to help people to heal, to help people to get better, like to help, not
Yeah,
dismiss.
exactly. And to just keep that human element, right? Like, yes, it's your job. Yes, it's something that you're doing day in and day out. But like to your point, like we are human, as are
Yeah,
you, right?
yeah,
My
yeah.
mother was a nurse. right?
Mm-hmm.
And they sent her home with Tylenol threes. And the following day, she was left paralyzed. So, like we are human and it can be you. It can be
Yeah.
something you love.
Yeah. That's so scary. And I've shared a few times on the podcast, like I've kind of glossed over it because I'm almost immune to it, where I've had multiple cancer scares.
Mhm.
Um, breast cancer runs in my family. My mom's sisters, two of them, I believe, have died from cancer, breast cancer. Most of the women in my family have had issues with fibroids and cysts. you know, I think probably almost every year, it feels like, since I was 18, I have found a lump in my breast. So I'm used to having to go to the doctor.
Mhm.
Just beginning of April, I found a massive lump in my breast. They said it was a complicated cyst with an infection around it. Like, I'm just so used to having to go and do the ultrasounds and, all the tests. And but it's like, we don't realize, if we're not advocating for our own health because of other humans who are tired and overworked and burnt out, how it can be dismissed. It is so important for us to advocate for ourselves. And if you feel that the medical system isn't doing you justice, to seek alternative
Mhm.
sources. Because my daughter, had I not, like, for 3 years, she was so sick and she was going to emerge almost weekly, and they were just putting her in IV and sending her home. And she had a vomiting condition, and it was so bad that she had lost over 50 pounds. Every time she went in, her all of her levels were super low. Finally couldn't take it anymore. She couldn't take it anymore because she couldn't
Yeah.
function. She couldn't even consume water and keep it down. The poor child was, like, suffering, and her mental health was declining, and she was like, "I can't do this anymore, mom. Like, I don't wanna be here anymore." And I had to take matters into my own hand and look at all kinds of alternative medicines, like taking her to homeopathic doctor, naturopathic doctor, like, everything under the sun. Nothing was covered, like,
Yep.
draining money out of my pocket, but at the end of the day, her life is what matters. And if I was solely dependent on our medical system, she probably wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
And it's like, thank God, through the homeopathic doctor and the naturopathic doctor, they're like, "This child is on the verge of heart attack or stroke." Her body is full of toxin. She had lead poisoning. She had, like, all kinds of, you know, poisons within her body.
Mm.
And thank God today she's super healthy. She
Mhm.
has her, like, shortly after her body being detoxed and her getting well, she got pregnant and has my granddaughter, whose name is Miracle, because her life is a miracle because her mom is here, right? But
Yeah.
if we hadn't gone to alternative
Yeah.
medicine, God only knows, like, she probably wouldn't be here.
I'm so happy that she is here. I'm so happy the grandbaby's here. She is so adorable.
Okay. Thank you. Um, but the second part of the question that I wanted to ask you earlier, because you talked about, had it been someone else,
Mhm.
how would you have dealt with that? I guess, how did your cancer diagnosis reshape your relationship with self-compassion and surrender?
Mm. Yeah. I think it's, as you know, like, I'm sure just with your own stuff, like it's a journey, right? Like I think we have a lot of ideas, a lot of plans for ourselves, a lot of to-dos, a lot of shoulds.
Mhm.
And I think it forced me to take a step back and break
Mm.
all of those down and really look at what I was attaching to things, what I was attaching to my worth, like, my academia, like I wanted to get my PhD, like I had my master's and I was like, this is my route. I'm going to go get my PhD. I couldn't do that anymore. Just given my diagnosis, given my mom's diagnosis, like it was just too much. And then it was just like, well, what am I supposed to do now?
Mhm.
Who
Mhm.
am I now, right? I needed this thing to establish myself in the world, to gain respect as a Black woman in the world, to, garner love from, family members in my life that I felt that didn't think that I was worth anything, right? So when we take a look at that, it's sometimes it's not that, the goal or whatever it is wrong. It's what we're attaching to it. And so I had to, love myself enough to be like, okay, we're not, less than for, not being able to. That realistically that doesn't even make sense, but it's what it feels
Mhm.
like. right? It's what it
Mm-hmm.
feels like in the body. And just offering myself grace to, change my mind, to navigate, to grow, to be flexible, and to just be okay with choosing something else.
Mm-hmm.
I think a part of that was grief, right? A part of that was grieving who I was. There was a point where I was walking, and I'll never forget the day where I was like, I should just delete all of the pictures before cancer because I don't even recognize that person anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it felt so unrecognizable because I was just like, I don't even know who I am now. I don't know who I was then. Like, I'm so conflicted.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you talk about therapy. I had to see a therapist because I think a lot of my challenges didn't start until after I went into remission.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And even a little shortly after then, when it was just like when the dust has settled, right? When you've done all the things, you did all the things that you were supposed to do. Now your oncologist is like, oh yeah, you're good. And I'm like, I'm good. Find me again.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
even just asking her like, okay, so like what can I do to like prevent this? Like what can I do? Oh, nothing. Just go back to like what you were doing. Surely that can't be. And
Right.
you talked about like naturopathy. One thing that I did for myself is like I love, anything like herbal and homeopathic and holistic. I did have a naturopathic oncologist. And that for me was so important because it gave me the element of choice. It gave me the element of aligning with my value system, right? Because never did I think that I would need to have chemotherapy, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we know how, harsh chemotherapy is on the body. And when you are trying to live a more holistic life, that can be quite conflicting to
Yeah.
have to do this thing. And I know that a lot of people struggle with that. They're like, well, I don't want this thing. But I think that there is value in integrative medicine. There is
Mm-hmm.
value. You can do both, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't have the time to that it would take for naturopathic remedies to go all the way. Like by the time I was diagnosed, I was stage 4. It was
Wow.
in my it was in my abdomen, it was in my spine. Those are
Wow.
all crucial areas that I
Yeah.
didn't have time. Like I had to start treatment immediately. So there was a bit of that conflict of like, well, what does this mean about like my values? Like I'm gonna have to have chemo and I'm gonna have to do all these things, but like I love my little herbs and I love like all of these things.
Mhm.
Like, and so I think, yeah, like I feel like it's a lot of giving yourself space to learn again, try again, make mistakes, give yourself grace, you know, have the space to grieve, right? And
Mhm.
yeah, it's a lot. But I
Yeah.
think once you're able to navigate and make the space for yourself to expand and make the space to just look at things a little bit differently, it makes it a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I strongly believe that our stories can be a blueprint for someone else, right? It's so they don't have to go through the same pitfalls that we went through. They can, avoid some of the things by studying someone else's journey, whether it's through a book or a podcast or what have you. And you talked about when you were writing your book, Piece Your Way to Success, and that you had never planned on being a writer, an author, any of those things. I hear your girl because 8 books in, I'm still like, I don't know if I ever really planned on this, but
Yeah.
okay, here we are, God. But I know from myself, writing, especially my first book, it was extremely cathartic. It was extremely
Mhm.
healing. It helped me work through things, process things, and unpack my feelings in a way that I had never done before. So I would love to know for you how writing your book helped you, heal and how it helped you with peace and alignment and success.
I think the biggest thing that my book helped me with is like vulnerability and opening up. I was not particularly an open person. I'm a supportive person. I got you. You call me. I'm there for you. Whatever it is that you need, I got you. Like we can talk about it. But for me, I wasn't necessarily the person that would go to anybody, right? Like I figured out my own ways and my own methods, whether they were healthy or not healthy at the time. You know, here we are. But I was not particularly open. And I think writing a book like Peace Your Way to Success, it was a moment where I was like, holy smokes. Like, if I'm going to write this, I feel like I'm supposed to write this. I have an assignment to do. I have to talk about my life. I have to talk feel. I have to talk about like my perspective. And even if people are like, okay, that's lame or this it just doesn't make sense or whatever. But I think it's like at the end of the day, this is my story. You can choose to disagree with it, but it happened. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, whatever it is, but I think it really forced me to be open. And I think one of the things even one of my good friends said was, she was like, it made me almost know you more because of just how guarded like I was, right? And that I know where a lot of that stemmed from, right? Like, my
Mhm.
mom is a strong Black woman, and how she navigates the world obviously is going to transfer onto me. And so I picked up a lot of that, right?
Mhm.
Picked up a lot of those things. And so in addition to, having to be vulnerable, I think it forced me to think about, well, what did get me through? How
Mhm.
did I get here? Right? Because it wasn't just happenstance. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, I just, just rolled over and I was like, okay. Like it wasn't, no.
Mhm.
So it forced me to like sit down and be like, okay, look at your life. What did you do right? Air quote. And what maybe could you have done some tweaks? And how can you share that information with the world? And I think that that's why I structured the book in a way where it's not only just a recount of my story, but it's like, okay, are we looking at our finances? Are we looking at our mental and spiritual well-being? Are we looking at those relationships? Are we looking at our physical environment and taking an inventory of what's working, what's not, what you need, what you don't, what you want more of, what you want less of? Because as I'm sure you're aware, when you are in the midst of challenge, now that's not the time.
Nope.
That's not the time to get it sorted.
Mhm. You don't have the capacity to at that point.
Yeah, the capacity. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, okay, you have said that, the impact of your cancer diagnosis, that it doesn't end with treatment. What does ongoing healing look like for you today?
Yeah, that's a good question. Ongoing healing looks like not getting so lost in the thoughts. I think when you are in remission, it can be very easy to be consumed by what if, all of the stories. What if it happens again? You hear stories of people, recurrence. And also, like, you're not the same, right? At a cellular level, you're not the same. And so sometimes I'm fine and I'm like, ooh, yeah, life's great. I love it here. And then other times I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I don't feel great.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's giving myself the grace to navigate those moments and know that I'll be fine. I'll come back, but I don't always have to be 100.
Yeah.
Not in the cards for me. And that's okay.
Mhm.
I think a challenge too that I noticed when I went to, it was a young adults with cancer. It was like a conference, a day conference. And I remember walking into the room and I remember exhaling. And what I didn't realize is how much I almost masked being normal.
Mhm.
And so when you get into that space, when you don't have to pretend that everything's fine, that you're fine. And I was just like, I had no idea. I
Mhm.
thought I was just, like I'm good, like I'm good, but I'm not good.
Mhm.
I'm a lot better than I was, but there are days that are challenging. There are
Mhm.
days that are challenging for me, and I might not understand why. Um,
Mhm.
it's just my body trying to, find its way back. My body's trying to do what it needs to do. And I think giving myself the space and the grace to have those moments is important so that I'm not in distress because of it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, now I'm adding to the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Almost just letting it be what it is. Today's not a great day, or maybe this moment's not a great moment. And I think that's what I try to do is focus moment to moment, right?
Mhm.
This next hour, not fantastic. But we got some more hours left in the day. This week can,
Yes.
make a comeback.
Yes. I feel you on that. Okay. I've had to learn to think the same way because if I didn't, I would think that my entire life is just chaos.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not. It's just, what I'm dealing with right now in the moment.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, well, yesterday wasn't chaos and I
Yeah.
still have the rest of today. Doesn't mean everything is chaos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what limiting beliefs have you had to unlearn in order to fully embrace ease and alignment? Because you talk about, giving yourself grace and being present. So what limiting beliefs did you have to overcome to get to this place?
Yeah. I think what comes to mind is just perhaps that like I couldn't, I guess, navigate in the world in the same way that other people do. I think that I had to kind of let that go because then it was stopping me from like, embracing a new identity, embracing, what could be and give myself space for possibility. Right. And I very much, that's kind of like the realm and the space that I operate in right now is just like possibility. Like anything's possible. I can do anything. Like
Yeah.
now, like, don't get me started on like AI and like what, what it can do in supporting just all of those possibilities. Right.
Mhm.
I think that that was a big thing because I felt like I changed so much, right?
Mhm.
So much. And I think even just another thing is just like this idea of being well and people seeing me be well or being an advocate for well-being. I think that when I was already, air quote well before when I was eating healthy, I was, doing the things, eating right, exercising, the things that they tell us we're supposed to do. And then I got this cancer diagnosis. So I'm just like, okay, well, what on earth was the point of that? And
Mhm.
I think I had to navigate that because it was just like one of the things that people would say is like, oh my God, but you're so healthy. How did this happen? Oh my God, but you were so healthy. And I'm just like, thanks. I thought so too. And so that was very challenging because now I'm just like, well, what is it all for?
Mhm.
So then I had to like sit with myself and be like, well, the fact that I was, otherwise healthy was the reason that I was able to survive. The fact that I was otherwise healthy was the reason that I had two options for chemo instead of one given my staging. Um,
Mhm.
so it's like I had to do a lot of reframing. And I think that when you navigate challenge, when you navigate life, it can be very, very easy to go down these dark, deep holes. And I think reframing is so important and reframing, like catching yourself before you're too far, right?
Mhm.
Definitely is so important to keep you grounded in the present. And there'll be moments, but it's like try not to like burrow in and like believe, essentially don't believe all the things that you think.
Mhm. Listen, our minds are liars. It will tell us things that are not true. Okay, so you talked about having to recreate your identity and grieving who you thought you were going to be and reframing.
Yeah.
What does success look like to you now, like
Mm.
beyond titles and accomplishments?
Yeah. I think success for me now is just like living in alignment with the things that are important to me. Like I love going for walks. I love going to cafes. I have many cafe moments, oftentimes on a Friday or like with girlfriends. So if I'm going to catch up, we're catching up at a cafe probably. I like, obviously my family. I love doing things with my family. Like anything that I consider important to me, I love to show up as myself. I do not like spaces whereby I cannot be myself. So for me, success is living in alignment with my values, living in alignment with those things that are important to me. But in order for you to live in alignment with them, well, you have to identify what your values are. And I think like on my journey and just like with like supporting people, like coaching and all these things, and I'm sure you can say the same thing. is that so many people have not a clue what their values are. No idea.
Because they're
No.
looking at other people and trying to say, well, I'll just do that because they look like they're doing it. Like, well, like,
But that doesn't resonate for you. That's not
right,
for you,
right.
right? And where are you going to find contentment from? Where are you
Yeah,
going to find peace from?
yeah,
Right? We're constantly comparing and constantly trying to be someone else.
yeah,
I think this is, how do you fully embrace who you are and live authentically to what it is that you want and who it is that you are. So
yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Uh, I agree 1000%. I feel like people spend more time consuming the lives of other people than they do learning to understand themselves and what they want and what's important to them. And maybe the first 39 years of my life, I was so focused on I'm going to say, superficial version of success.
Mhm,
And I had this aha moment where I was just like, okay, I am a Black woman. I am a single mom. At the time, I was like, okay, I own, like a list of things, all these things. And I was like, I have been able to, as an entrepreneur, take care of my children, keep food in their mouth, keep a roof over their head. They are healthy, like all of those things. And I started to realize success wasn't for me, success wasn't what I once believed it was, with
mhm,
all of the accolades and checking all the boxes. And I
mhm,
think it was probably maybe around 5 years ago where I started saying no to a lot of awards or events that I felt like were vanity awards, where it was like, vote for me for this or whatever. I'm like, I don't care. If I have earned, if I have earned the space, great. Thank you. I appreciate it. I am honored. But that wasn't success for me. To
mhm,
me, it was peace, it was connection, it was love, it was all those things. And when I started to live in alignment with what my values were,
mhm.
is when I connected with my person, is where I started making more money in my business, is where I started to attract, the connections, the people, the network, the resources without forcing anything. I like unsubscribed from hustle culture. I was like, no, I'm good. Thank you. I'll pass. I stopped thinking that I needed to go to every single networking event, like all the things that I thought I needed to do to be successful. And for those that are listening, the key takeaway from this point is knowing what your values are,
Yeah.
knowing what's important to you, because you may be looking at someone else's life and someone else's accolades and success and thinking, "Oh, well, I want that." But
Mm,
it's not in alignment with your values, with your morals, with your purpose. And then you're going after something and you find yourself burnt out chasing it and it's not successful because that's not who you are. That's not who you're designed to be. It's not what God called for your life. But
mhm.
when you get into alignment with who you were called to be, the things that are important to you, the things that matter to you, the people, places, all those things are how you want to operate or show up in the world. The legacy that you leave behind is so much deeper because you're doing it with your whole heart. Like,
Yeah,
I know if I never made a dime from it, I know that a part of my purpose is to help other people to heal. So
yeah.
all of the crap that I have been through, all of the adversity, all the struggle, all the things, I didn't sit there in it and say, "Oh, poor me." It
Mm,
was, "Okay, let's work through this. What is the solution here? How do we not do this again? Okay,
yeah,
how can we help other people?" There has ever since I've had that aha moment, there has never been a day where I've looked at anyone else and envied what they have or felt like, "Oh, that, I don't know, should be me," or "Why don't I have?" No, that's not for me. I'll clap for you. I am so happy for you. I will celebrate you. I am excited for you, but it ain't for me.
ye yeah. No, and I think you touched on, like, scarcity in there too, right?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think on that, when we're looking and we're like, "Oh, I gotta be everywhere. I gotta do everything. There's not enough. I gotta," even when we're trying to compete with people, there's enough.
Mhm.
There's enough if you're in your lane, if you're doing what it is that you're supposed to do. God's not running out of blessings.
Amen. I say that all the time.
Or whatever, whoever it
Yep.
is for you,
Yep.
they're not running out.
Yep.
But I think what's important is the alignment piece so
Yeah.
that you can attract the things that are for you. They're not going
Absolutely.
to affect you,
Yeah.
but you also have to know what they are. Now,
Yeah.
you worried about so and so. That's so and so's journey. That's their path. And
Yeah.
like you, I'm always like, oh my gosh, I love that for you. I love that
Yes.
it was able to happen for you. That you were able to do that.
Yeah.
Let it be.
Yep. Yep.
But again, to your point, like I I I'm not a part of hustle culture. And
Hmm.
even sometimes I toy with that, right? Sometimes I think about that. I'm just like, oh, sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe I should be doing more. And I'm just like, nah, I'm doing exactly what I need to be doing.
Yeah.
I'm doing exactly what I need to be doing. I'm, showing up for myself. And I
Yes.
think when I think about how and what I believe God has put me on this earth for, it is to support people for them to see how great they are,
Hmm.
right? In order for me to hold that kind of space for people, I have to be well.
Yes.
I have to be well. There's no if, ands, or buts.
Yeah.
Because when I'm not well, then I'm not able to shine the light on you for you to see yourself.
Yes. Absolutely.
I have to be well.
Yeah.
So me taking that intentional time for peace, me taking that intentional time and maybe saying no to things, all of those things, boundaries. When we talk, it's so layered, but it's all encompassing, and that I have to be well in every area of my life so that I can show up in a way that I feel is my purpose, is that is aligned with, what I believe that I'm supposed to be here for.
Absolutely. I feel like when I say no to someone or something, I feel like I'm actually doing them a favor because by me saying yes, I am going to show up tired. I am going to show up burnt out. I am not going to show up as my whole self. And you're going to get a half-assed version of me. And you're going to be like, what is wrong with this girl? This is not what I asked for. So by me telling you no, that is me respecting you to say, I'm not going to give you my bare minimum right now. So
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Absolutely, because we've all seen it, right? The person who doesn't want to be there and they're just kind of in the corner or they're on their phone. And it's like, well, that's not a great experience for
Yeah.
anyone involved. So to
Yeah.
your point, like if that's how I feel, if I'm not up to it, then I have to say no. And I've had people be like, oh, well, why? And I'm like, because I don't want to.
Right?
Or it's usually because I don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that they're like, oh,
You're being honest. Like,
I don't.
they're so used to people faking the funk and
Yeah.
trying to be polite for the sake of political correctness that when someone is actually honest, it's like, oh, cut my pearls. You said no, you don't want to.
No, she doesn't. Mm-mm,
Yeah,
not
no,
today.
like, mm-mm.
Bet you next time maybe, but right now, no.
Mhm.
I hope you have so much fun though. Like it's gonna be
Right?
an amazing time. Like so amazing.
I have said no to the point where it shocked people. They had to laugh. It's like one person, a male friend of mine, invited me to his birthday party. And he sent me the invite details, and I said, "Oh, Sony, I'm so sorry, honey. That is like past my outside time. I'm not coming."
Mhm.
And he was like, what do you?" I'm like, "Leaving my house at 10 p.m. That sounds like when I'm going in the shower to get ready for bed." Yeah, no, I love you, but I love you enough to let you know I'm not going to be there.
That's
Yeah, no,
so much fun.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so how has your definition of legacy evolved as you've integrated wellness, AI, and holistic leadership?
Yeah. I think for me, I think one of the things that I think I read it in a book or something, that I'm always reading something or listening to something. And I think it's like, how do I show up as myself fully? Like, and maybe that's what I'm supposed to do, right? Just show up as myself completely. Give other people permission to be themselves. Give other people permission to shine their light in this world so that they feel that it's okay. It's okay to be me. It's okay to navigate challenges. It's okay to figure things out. It's okay to say no. And I think that when I think about legacy, I think about all of the lives and all of the people that will be able to show up as themselves,
Mhm.
right? Maybe for me, I don't know if legacy is, some business or some structure or some entity, but maybe it's just a light source that I leave behind so that people can be themselves and people can love themselves, right? I
Mhm.
feel like so many of us, we don't show ourselves enough love.
Mhm.
And if I can support you to see just how great you are, and maybe, you show yourself a little bit more compassion, you give yourself a little bit more grace, you feel yourself a little bit more.
Mhm.
um, I think that that will, that can transcend so many generations. And I think when I think about legacy, like that's what I think about in terms of
Yeah.
like me and what I'm here for.
We are so aligned because it's like everything you just said I completely resonate with, and that's exactly how I view it because I think like legacy, it's like the butterfly effect, right? They talk about a butterfly flapping its wings on the opposite side of the world can affect things. It's like you have no idea how you helping one person to feel better about themselves, the effect that that can have, the ripple effect that that can
Mhm.
have, how that can go on for generations, how that can spread across, them being kind to someone or teaching their children to be more kind and so on and so forth. And I had learned from my mentor many, many years ago, leave everyone with the feeling of increase. So it's leave people better than you found them, right? It's like everyone that I'm connected to, letting them know how great they are or helping them pull from inside of themselves the greatness that's within them, right? The focus on making them better. So I love that you said that. Well, okay. So for anyone who is in the middle of a major life transition, what would you, or what's a step that you would recommend towards clarity and peace?
Start with awareness. Start with taking the time for yourself. I don't think that you can start outside with the external pieces. I think that you do have to take a minute, pause, and look at where you're at, right? Where are we right now
Mhm.
in the midst of all of where we're at? And then think about, well, where are we trying to go? Think about what it is, how it is that you're feeling, who's around you,
Mhm.
what
Mhm.
resources you have to navigate whatever it is. What have you done before that can give you proof that you can do this again?
Mhm.
Like, just think about, like, just take a moment for you and almost just do an inventory of yourself, where you're
Mhm.
at in the world, because that I find so helpful, because it's almost like developing a new relationship with yourself so that you have the will, the means to continue. Um,
Mhm.
because sometimes we're so disconnected from ourselves, disconnected from from love, from self
Mhm.
love.
Mhm.
Uh, so paying attention to those thoughts, the things that are coming up. Like, I firmly believe that, like, if I didn't have the mindset to, you know, ground myself and, talk to myself, I talk to myself all the time. And I'm not saying you have to, but that's something that I do.
Mhm.
Um, that I don't know that I would be here, right? Because our mind is so unbelievably powerful, so unbelievably powerful. We have to monitor those thoughts. We
Mhm.
have to think about, like, what it is that we're feeling, where it is that we're going, how it is that we're showing up, and how it is that we're showing up for ourselves. So
Mhm.
I think start with that, because that in itself can also be a contributor to a lot of the problems that we have,
Mhm.
realistic,
Mhm.
right? How we show love to ourselves, how we allow others to treat us. Like, all of these things are interconnected, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's so much there that I could unpack, but we'd have to, like, do a part 2. So, okay, so on that note, before
Yeah.
we go to the final segment, I want you to tell the listeners where they can stay connected with you, where they can learn more from you, where they can buy your book.
Yes, absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram at the Kenisha Hanson. I'm there. You can find me on LinkedIn if you're a professional and you want to connect with me on there. My book, I have a website, it's peaceandsuccess.com. My new website will be dropping soon. It'll be kenishahanson.com. There'll all be links so you don't have to, fuss about and look for everything. My book is currently sold on all my real retailers. So that's Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, Indigo. and wherever you get your books from online, worldwide. I think we have books that have gone as far as Germany and wherever else. So it's not,
Yay.
yeah, right. Yay. Thanks. We're definitely not limited to Canada at all. And so, yeah.
Yay. Okay. So I will have all those details in the detailed section below the episode so they can just click and connect with you directly.
Thank you, Fanny.
You're welcome. So for the final segment, it's kind of like a rapid fire. You can answer one word or one sentence. If you feel the need to unpack, you're more than welcome to do so.
Okay.
All right. When was the last time you cried?
When was the last time I cried? I think it was like last week. So post cancer, a small elaboration. I'm definitely a crier. I wasn't before, but now I'm so much more in tune with like my emotions and like my intuition that like I'll cry. Like if I think one of my friends told me something good that happened and I started tearing up. So yeah, last week.
Listen, I feel you. I am a complete crier. I cry for commercials. I cry at like a dog, puppy outside. Like, yeah, I'm a crier. So I get it. Okay, describe yourself in one word.
Grounded.
What would you say is your superpower?
Helping people see the light in themselves.
Love it. When was the last time you apologized to someone?
Probably last week to my partner.
What's the first thing you do in the morning and the last thing you do at night?
Pray for both.
Love it. Okay. Yeah. What's the most repeated thought you have in a day?
That's a good question. Most repeated thought. It's probably some affirmation like everything's going to be fine. Today's going to be a good day or something like that. I don't know which one, but yeah, one of those types of things.
And last but not least, what would little Kenisha be proud of you for?
Oh my gosh, for showing up, for trying, for loving herself. Yeah, for just being who I am and just showing up as I am.
I love it. Thank you so much, Kenisha, for taking the time to share your story, your wisdom, and your energy with us today. I do not take it lightly. I'm excited that I even got the opportunity to get to know you deeper. And, you know, we've been connected through social. I got the opportunity to help you publish your book, but I feel like I got to know you on a deeper level here today. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm so happy that we got to do this. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to connect with you. And yeah, thank you for all that you do for your listeners, for the world. Thank you for continuing to show up and share your life.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, healing starts with what you say to yourself. 111 Affirmations to Help You Heal is my second book that is filled with daily affirmations to uplift and empower you. Speak life over yourself. Grab your copy on Amazon or at McKinneySmith.com. I just want to thank each and every one of you that continues to listen each week to help the show rank globally in the top 1.5% of most popular podcasts. If today's episode resonated with you, please subscribe, rate the show, and leave us a review on Apple Podcast. Now, I want you to think of two people that would benefit from today's conversation. Share this episode with them. Someone out there needs Kenisha's testimony. Screenshot this episode. You can tag us on Instagram. You can tag Kenisha at the Kenisha Hanson. You can tag myself at the real McKinney Smith. And let's keep this conversation going. A healthy community is a healing community, and a healing community is full of hope. So let's continue to heal